soucis techniques, ça arrive. Alors, aujourd'hui, du coup, est avec nous Carlos Simoes, donc sommelier international. En direct, il va nous expliquer d'où il nous appelle. Alors, Carlos, aujourd'hui, est master sommelier. Pareil, il nous fera un petit point dessus. Donc, aujourd'hui, on va parler ensemble en anglais. Sorry, we have to switch in English now. Because it's one of the most beautiful language, and because it's international point to talk about wine. Okay, so Carlos, nice to see you. How are you today?
Nice to see you. Very good, very good. Thank you. How are you, Olivier? It's been a long time.
Not too bad, not too bad. You know, it's a sunny day. For us, it's 2 p.m. What about you? What time is it?
For me now, it's 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Oh, my friend. Okay, and where are you exactly now?
At the moment, I am in Thailand because all the restaurants are closed in Australia.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend is here from Thailand, and her mom is a little bit sick, so I came here.
Okay, good. Just to explain us, sorry, where are you working in Australia?
So in Australia, I am working at the restaurant called View the Mons.
Yeah.
So it's a fine dining venue, and it's on the top of 55th floor. So we have the view of all Melbourne. It's very beautiful.
Nice. And are you the head sommelier?
Wine director. So I take care of 10 restaurants.
No way. Good.
Yeah, it's nice.
I've got a personal question. Are you still working with Dorian Guillon or not?
Yeah. With two master sommelier.
Nice.
It's nice.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the head sommelier of View the Mons.
Okay, easier.
Chef sommelier of View the Mons, yeah.
So today, it's a pleasure for us because you want to talk about Portuguese wine, okay? Just before starting, I've got some question for you. It's kind of habit, it's habitude for us to ask question to the master. You are a master, but to the master sommelier.
Thank you.
So the first question is about your school. Tell us just about your school, okay? What's your background in the wine hospitality? I mean, in the industry hospitality, industry. What about your background?
So yes, so my background is well, I was born in Switzerland, but my parents are Portuguese. So when we moved to Portugal, I was only 7 years old. And my first job in hospitality, I was 11 years old. It was a very small cafe, a small pizzeria. And, from there, I learned, a few things about wine here and there. And I fell in love with hospitality straight there. I was only 11 years old. But my grandfather also makes wine, as a very small vineyard. So since very early, I was helping with vendage and was helping in the vineyard. So it was always there. But then school was when I was 14 years old, hospitality school, so hotel and restaurant school, right? I'm not sure how you call it in French. And then I started working in restaurants since then, all the time, really. So I did hotel management a little bit later, university, but I never finished because I moved to London. I moved to London to work at Gordon Ramsay, to work with João Pires. And then Dina by Hest and Blumenthal when I work with you. And then, of course, WSET, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and Court of Master Sommelier. Yeah.
Nice, perfect.
So, yeah.
Also always a question about the confinement, okay, about the quarantine. So, actually, what are you doing during your day?
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep myself always busy with something. I wake up always early, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Drink a very good strong coffee, read the news about wine, read the news about the the coronavirus, and call my mother, every 2-3 days to make sure she's okay. She's very worried. And then, of course, I try to be active on Instagram with wine stuff. I try to be active on Facebook with wine stuff. And I think it's important, because if you just stop doing nothing, watching movie all day or doing nothing, your head go crazy.
Okay.
So I like to keep busy all the time. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Other question?
Thank you. Yeah.
It's about wine for sure. What was your last big bottle of wine? I'm talking about, when you say big, it's about emotion,
Uh-huh.
So last big bottle of wine.
Nice. Yeah. It was last big bottle that I can remember very well. Actually, it's 2 bottles because it was in the same day. So one was 1995 Chateau Le Pin, or Le Pin. Sorry, not Chateau Le Pin.
Le Pin, it's okay. It's okay.
And the other one was 1945 Petrus. So it was on the same day. We opened 2 bottles, and those 2 wine cellar when I arrived 5 years ago at Vieux du Monde, and 3 months ago we sold the 2 bottle, and of course you try a little bit, and the 45 was still very good. Was still delicious. It was not gone. It was very good. It was impressive. Yeah.
Okay, nice, amazing. Other question. Did you meet someone in your wine, wine life, who give you something different? Okay, who teach you something, or like kind of a mentor about spirit, everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think the times of Dina Baez and Blumenthal when we worked together were for me very special, because I was start learning more everything about wine, right? I mean, in Portugal I learned nothing before, and in London and with João Pires, working with you, working with Fabien, Pierre, Dorian, it was a very strong team. So if I have to choose one person, maybe I think I'd say Fabien Etienne. Fabien Etienne is a good friend of us, of me and Olive. I always him when I study, because he taught me the first things I knew about wine, and because he was very, very, very passionate for the sommelier job.
Amazing. Just other question. I've got a student just prepare some question about we call it master question. Okay, so he will ask to you easy question. Okay, are you ready for? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it, Charles.
Sometimes he's cutting a little bit. I hope
you
can hear me.
I just stopped the other computer. I don't know what's happened today. Are you here, Charles?
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Oh, I don't know. Charles? I don't know. Maybe it's not working. Okay. He just sent me the question. Maybe Charles is waking up. Charles.
Yes.
Charles. Perfect.
Hello.
Hello, Carlos.
Hello, Fabien. Fabien, ça va?
You still have the picture, Fabien.
He was trying to trick me, eh?
The picture is still on.
Yeah.
Yes.
How
can I help you more, Fabien?
No, I have few questions to ask as per Olivier. So just to know if you're still keeping track.
Still keeping track
of studying.
Oh, yes, yes, of course. I mean, a sommelier, I think a sommelier need to study every day, every day, every day, because no matter if you best sommelier in the world, if you are David Biro or if you are Olivier Poussier, I mean, doesn't matter, because the wine world change every single day. If you stop studying, if you stop reading, if you stop learning, finish. Someone is better than you tomorrow. So you need to study every day. So yes, I read every day a little bit. Yes.
Okay, so you ready?
Yeah.
What was the first vintage of Barcavellia?
Good question. 1952.
Great answer. Can you name two declared vintage port in the 1960s?
63 and 68.
Yeah, probably 66 for sure.
66,
68 as well.
63.
68, yeah.
63 is a very big vintage.
Yeah, very big.
One of the vintage of the century. Yeah.
What are the name of the following grapes in Portugal? Mencia
Mencia is Jean.
and Tempranillo?
Aragonês in south of Portugal, and Tinta Roriz in Douro Valley.
Which region in Portugal is famous for sparkling wine?
Bairrada, but not only sparkling, and Távora Varosa, mainly sparkling.
And what is the oldest port house?
The oldest port house, Croft, maybe? No? Oh, wait, Kopka.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank
you.
Merci Fabien.
Nice challenge.
Just in French, ok. Pour tout le monde, c'était rien de préparé. Les questions, oui, de Fabien étaient préparées. Le reste, Carlos didn't know about. Il n'était pas au courant, ok. Okay, so Carlos, now I just told to the student, no, I mean, the question were not prepared, okay, before, okay, was just a live. Okay. Now I think it's time to talk about Portuguese wine, okay? So you prepare a nice PowerPoint. So let's share the PowerPoint, okay? Tell me if the connection is good or not.
Yeah, I see your screen.
Okay, perfect. And now?
Perfect, yeah. Excellent.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, we will talk a little bit about the regions and the wines made in Portugal. So if we move to the next slide, we will find here so a little bit of the history of Portugal the Iberian Peninsula in terms of wine production. So 2000 years before Christ, we have some vines being bush vines being planted in the country, and it was very, very random. They probably just grew there, probably someone just moving around vines around the Mediterranean and planted some vines in the Iberian Peninsula. At this point was not Portugal. I mean, wine goes back probably some 8,000 years, right, before Christ. Georgia has some of the oldest vines. I mean, some of the oldest knowledge of wine. So in Iberian Peninsula is 2,000 years. And then I think the most important thing to take note of in this first line here, it's the second century before Christ, where it says Romans, because there is the amphora. And this is important because today there are a lot of wines being made in amphora again around the world, and also in Portugal. I mean, in the south of Portugal, in Alentejo, we even have a new DOC, or in French AOC or AOP, that is made in amphora, and it's called DOC Vinho de Talha. Okay, it's brand new. So this is why I mean it's very important, because we go a little bit to the history, to the back, to the past, and redo something that was done, you know, centuries ago in the Iberian Peninsula. And then of course barbarians came. They kept the winemaking alive. And then one other important point is 1143. This is when Portugal became Portugal. So King Afonso Henriques, he took over the war with his mother, and what was before Spain became a little bit Portugal on a corner. Okay. And then important also for the wine trade was obviously the 15th century with the discoveries, because we had some very good people that was traveling, that was, you know, taking the boats, big boats, and just traveling around the tropics. So we start going around the tropics. So Portugal was actually, during this time, in discovery times, one of the richest countries in the world. So we had a lot of Africa, Angola, Mozambique, Cabo Verde. We discovered Brazil. We discovered Madeira. We discovered we had Goa. We had Macau. So a lot of different parts. And then 1500s discovery of Brazil as well, and then 17th century and so on. And then moving to the next slide, we have another very strong, very important point, which was the 18th century with the Methuen Treaty. So in 1703, and this goes in a time that France was in war with England. And it's very important, this date, because as they were in war, the English start coming to Portugal, to the Douro Valley, for example, because he was, you know, just further down. They come to Porto, they come to the valley, and they start sourcing their wines to bring to England. And this was for many very important for many years. In fact, there is another one treaty that goes back some 600 years with Portugal and England. So we took those opportunities, but then, as you may know, port was at this time, was good initially, but then also went through some different phases as the Portuguese was cheating, and it was adding, like a liquor and adding some stuff to make more and more port. So it was not good. And this led to something that was then a demarcation of the region of Douro, because they wanted to stop with this. They wanted to make something good. They wanted to make the appellation, and that's when in 1756 Portugal and the Douro Valley became demarcated. Some people say that Douro is probably one of the first registered appellations in the world. Other people say Tokaj in Hungary, and who knows. And then, so French invasions in 1807. And then, of course, 1850, the vine diseases, powdery mildew, downy mildew. No one knew how to take care of these diseases, so it pretty much destroyed all the vineyards. 1867, phylloxera, that was all around the world, right? The American vines that came to Europe, started in the Rhone Valley, in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, as you may know, and then just really spread around the world. And Portugal was not an exception, a part of one little region that I will explain later. And then 1874, London Great Exhibition, another 1910, Republic Revolution, quite important. And wine was always evolving through these times. And then you will see here, 1942, Mateus Rosé. This is quite interesting. I mean, is as interesting as almost embarrassing. But it's quite important for the Portuguese market, because Mateus Rosé and another wine called Lancers together make 40% of the Portuguese wine production that was exported worldwide. So everywhere around the world, there was Mateus Rosé, for example. So this was quite big. And then 1974 was a big change for Portugal because it was the revolution, and we stopped having a dictator, and it became democratic country again. So basically, it was a big change, and then of course accession to the European Union, which comes, I believe, on the next slide. So yeah, 1986 accession to the European Union, and then of course this was a massive change. It was one of the most important things that could happen because there was a lot of money coming into Portugal and Spain. So basically, you know, new technology, new knowledge, everything was replanted brand new, and this was very important. I mean, as you can imagine. And then of course 2010 all the DOCs were registered. And then, well, 2009, first Portuguese master sommelier was João Pires, my mentor, Olivier, one of Olivier's mentors as well, and Fabien as well. So it was he's Portuguese, he's from Mozambique, but yeah, Portuguese master sommelier. And then next slide, we will have some before Olivier, s'il vous plaît. Here we go. So we have here some traditional dishes from Portugal. It's very interesting. Here you see a soup. It's caldo verde. So this is cabbage, potato, olive oil, and chorizo. Underneath you have bacalhau, and then you have salted bacalhau on top. I hope you can accompany me. So on the top center, drying codfish. And from this drying codfish, we can make, we say, 1,001 different recipes. Okay, and then on the top right, you have sardines, and usually we say a sardine when come out of the ocean, and you put straight away on the grill, and you put olive oil and garlic. That's it. You don't need anything else. It's crazy. It's very delicious. And then in the middle, right in the middle, you have octopus. We call octopus alagareiro. So it's just grilled with potato, cooked with skin, a lot of olive oil, again, a lot of garlic, and a special cabbage. It's also grilled. It's very good. Pastel de nata, someone was commenting that is very good. And then lastly, it's francesinha. So francesinha is very interesting because it's like croque monsieur, in French, but here we put a lot of cheese. We put the egg, and we put sauce on top of all of this. So francesinha in Portuguese, little Frenchy. So it's quite interesting. Yeah. Okay. I hope I'm not going too fast. If anyone has a question or wants me to go a little bit slower, is no problem. Okay.
Thanks, Carlos.
My pleasure.
And for you, which one is your favorite? And what about the pairing? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for
Just
sure.
one,
I mean, yeah. Well, to be honest, when I look at this, I mean, I cannot say only one. I have to say sardines, because sardines, they, as I said, out of the coast, out of the ocean, fresh, straight on the grill. Me and Fabien, we ate a lot of sardines last summer because we were together. We had a holiday together in Portugal, in Vinho Verde. And I would have to choose sardines, and I have to choose the caldo verde with chorizo and the cabbage and olive oil. And the wine pairing for this, I would choose a Vinho Verde Tinto. So you serve it a little bit cold, and it's very concentrated. It's very rich, very tannic. It's like Alicante Boucher, or which is a Teinturier grape, if you know what means Teinturier grape. It's really concentrate, very dark, very purple, and almost a little bit sweeter. And you serve cold. I think is a perfect match for this.
When you say cold, what about the degrees?
You know, you could serve 12 degrees, no problem.
12, okay, perfect. Chill.
Yeah, for the red wine is pretty cold.
Okay. That's it. So amazing.
Yeah.
So first,
Yeah.
Vigno Verde, but in red wine. So looks amazing.
Yeah.
Good start.
Hold on, just 1 minute, please. I think we have a question from our friend Thierry Millet. He asked, is there a special meat with label in Portugal? I just interrupt because it's the moment of the food, so that's why I asked the question.
Of course. Special label for meat?
Yeah, like sometime you have in France for beef or I don't know. I'm sorry. Thierry, c'est ce que tu voulais dire? Pas du tout. D'accord.
Thierry.
Is a special meat with label in Portugal? C'est ta question? Non? J'ai dit une bêtise? Thierry? Tu peux le mettre en...
Vas-y. Thierry Millet, just to let you know, is Mayor with France, Maître d'Hôtel, Carlos.
Ah, yeah, okay, nice to meet you.
He's on the way, I think.
No problem.
I'm a bit scared about Francesinha. I tried twice.
You scared?
Yeah, and it's so fat. And I will tell you, I don't understand this dish.
No, I can tell you. I mean, I've eaten twice in Portugal, where it's traditionally from, which is Porto, is in the north, and every time I think I can do better myself.
Okay, yeah, sure. we call it attrape tourist in France. You know, it's
yeah.
It's a tourist dish.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thierry, if you have any question, Thierry, just ask.
Well, I think about the meat. I'm not any, to be very fair, I don't think there's any registration or law for any meat with an appellation, registered appellation. But what it is, what exists is, pata negra, which is the smoked ham. So like you have the jambon, how do you say in French?
Jambon,
which is jambon, yeah, which is like in Spanish, the pata negra. They grown in the south of Portugal, in Alentejo, where there is a lot of not hazelnut, where there is a lot of what's the name of the is a fruit that grows in the south of Portugal. I can't remember the name.
It's about nuts or something else? No.
Sorry. It's
not a nut.
No, it's not a nut. Let me check. I will check for you straight away. I have the internet. But yeah, so it's the same as in Spain. Well, actually, it's said that most of the pork from Pata Negra that is grown in Portugal, it goes to Spain, and then it's sold for 2,000 euros the ham, each ham. So it's very, very expensive.
Hello. I have a question about your slide. There are lots of meals, fish, and I think generally they are better with a white wine. Does the part of wine between red and white is the same? There are more white wine in Portugal than red wine?
Yes. Hello. How are you? Nice to meet you. Thank you for your question.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah. So could you just kindly repeat the question again, please?
On your slide, there are lots of fish. And generally, in France, we propose the white wine with fish.
Yeah.
Does the part between white and red wine in Portugal is the same or not?
So you are very right. I mean, Portugal has a lot of fish because it's coast from north to south. In fact, production is mostly red wine. We produce more red wine than white wine. And yes, we serve mostly white wine with fish for sure, 100%. maybe asking this because it's strange to hear red wine from Vinho Verde with the sardines. But the fact is that this matching is because the sardine is one of the fattest fish there is. It's really, really, really fat, and when he's on the grill, you see the fat really like juicing out of the sardine. So the Vinho Verde, which is cold with high acidity, is a perfect combination. But traditionally with seafood, yes, we serve white wine for sure.
Thank you.
I hope I answer your question.
Yeah. Later.
So Carlos, now
Yeah.
let's talk about the map, about Portugal situation.
Yeah. Yes, of course. So Portugal is the southwesternmost country in Europe. So obviously is on the Iberian Peninsula, and Portugal has, you know, now all those demarcated regions. The northernmost is Vinho Verde, and then on the east we have Trás-os-Montes, which is completely continental, is locked with Vinho Verde, with Down, Douro, and then of course Spain. And then further south you have Porto and Douro. You can see there, I mean, it's a small region, and you can see the river that comes from Spain. And cross the whole northern part of the country. So from Ribera del Duero, where it almost starts, crosses the northern part, and then it finishes in Porto. And then further south, straight after, you have Bairrada, you have Down, you have Beira Interior, once again very continental. You have Lisboa, a little bit further south, central of the country. You have Tejo. Tejo was in the old times called Extremadura. And then you have the biggest wine region, which is Alentejo. It's not the region that produced the most wine, but it is the biggest, largest. And then there's Peninsula de Setúbal, and finally Algarve at the end. And then within each of these regions, you have different DOCs, which we will break down a little bit as we go forward. So let's move now to Vinho Verde, which is the first.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're having different climate, or it's mainly the same climate, or if you go to the north of Vinho Verde?
No, it's very different. Yeah, that's a very good question. So if you are on Vinho Verde, it's different straight away from Trás-os-Montes. I mean, the northern part of Portugal is very, very mountainous, a lot of mountain. So you have Vinho Verde, which is really on the coast with the Atlantic, and just south of Rías Baixas in Spain, Galicia. And it's very green, it's very healthy, very fresh, moderate climate, maritime, okay? And then as you move towards east to Trás-os-Montes on the north east, it's completely rocky, it's completely continental. So very hot summers and dry, and then very cold and rainy winters. Okay, so very typical climate, continental climate, and a lot of mountain as well that affects the wines. And then, of course, as you go further down, Bairrada also moderate, maritime, with some higher altitude, which make good sparkling. Down, again, a little bit more continental, but still is quite influenced by the Atlantic. Beira Interior is, again, very dry, very hot, but not as cold, sorry, not kind of cold as Trás-os-Montes, but he has the highest point in Portugal, which is Serra da Estrela. And then further south, you have Lisboa. So Lisboa, it's for me one of the most interesting regions today. He has 9 AOCs, or sorry, DOPs in Portuguese, and it's very diverse, which we will see a little bit later. It's quite interesting. And then in the middle, you have Tejo, which used to be called Ribatejo in the past, has also 5 or 6 DOCs. and then Alentejo, again, 9 sub-regions. Peninsula de Setúbal, which it's very maritime, is very much influenced, produce sparkling wines, fortified wines and still wines. Still wines a lot less, but again, a very, very influenced maritime. And then Alentejo, the most important regions in Alentejo are actually on higher altitude, because otherwise it's too hot, too dry, not as good to produce wine. Mostly olive trees, mostly cork for cork production for the bottles. But there's some really good wine there. And then Algarve is the climate is probably one of the least favorites for wine production. Mostly sandy soils pretty much everywhere. It gets better when it's a little bit more inland. For example, Tavira, Portimão, a little bit further inland, and where there is less of that sandy soil and some more consistency as well on the growing season, because otherwise it's better for holidays.
Okay.
Algarve.
Okay, perfect. So let's move to Vinho Verde, or?
No, and then I was gonna say Madeira and Azores, but we it's not on the map, so when we get there, we explain.
Okay, perfect.
It sounds good. So Vinho Verde, the style of Vinho Verde from those 9 sub-regions, Monção, Lima, Cávado, Ave, Basto, Sousa, Amarante, Paiva, Baião. The most important, it's really the northernmost, Monção. It's where Alvarinho produced the best style. And then on the, so there's a river called River Minho that is that makes the frontier with Galicia, with Spain. So Spain, River Minho, and then Monção straight away. And then very green, as you can see in the picture. This is exactly how it is in there. Green, fresh, super not cold, I wouldn't say, but it's very even peaceful, I would say. You know, all you can see is vineyards everywhere you drive. It's they use a type of planting that is called enfurcado. Enfurcado in Portuguese is hang by the head, and that means that's exactly how the vines were planted. Is on very high, maybe like 2 meters high, because there's different reasons for that. One is that the vines were more free from disease, because there is wind passing underneath. So and also they would plant vegetables on the bottom, so they use the space underneath, and the winds will dry disease from the higher altitude vines. Okay, so that's a traditional planting in Vinho Verde, and you see a lot of that when you drive in the region. So it's really beautiful.
Hold on, Carlos. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Maybe we can send some questions about people here.
Yeah, of course.
Je suis désolé, Olivier, j'interviens parce que je vois qu'il y a plein de questions dessus. Tu peux peut-être reprendre la main et enchaîner l'ordre des questions.
Si je les prends, en fait, ça vous fait quelque chose sur l'écran. Ok, alors.
C'est juste parce que là, il y a des questions qui sont vraiment thématiques sur ça, donc je me suis permis d'intervenir. Merci.
After Carlos will tell it. Alvarinho, I think the first question here. Alvarinho produces as well in the rye, sweet and sparkling wine. So it's a question before the answer, I think so, because I think for sure you will talk about it later. But Alvarinho, is it true you can do dry wine, sweet wine, and sparkling wine with Alvarinho grape?
Yeah, you can. The best style of Alvarinho is dry white wine, but you can do sweet wine. I mean, it's not really the region for it. It's not really the style, but you can. I mean, if you let the grapes drier You can definitely do sparkling wine. The sweet wine, I've never tried really a good sweet wine from Alvarinho, but you could.
Just to make
But
sure,
yeah,
sorry.
it's not really the style.
Yeah, sure. Other question that you talk about, but Alvarinho is the same grape as Albarino in Riax Garces.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct. It's just a different name.
Okay, perfect. Alvarinho is Albarino. Okay.
Yeah.
Question after was about food, but what about all the dish from the north? Leitão, cocido, match with red from Mexico. Now maybe it's Ludovic.
Yeah, leitão à bairrada. That's really, really good. That's delicious. Leitão is a baby pig. So usually they only have a few weeks. So 3, 4 weeks, leitão. Yeah. And then they roast on a wooden fire. And then you serve with sparkling wine from Bairrada or from Távora Barossa. And you can serve also with with sparkling red wine again, but sparkling wine from Bairrada, champagne style. Oh my God, it's good. It's very good. Yeah.
Nice. Other question. This is mine. Why? I mean, in 2010 or 2012, I heard about Minho. Was not Vinho Verde region, was Minho region.
Yeah.
And they changed to Vinho Verde, no?
No, it's different. So Minho is the region. Minho is the region of the north. The DOP is Vinho Verde. So Minho is the region. The DOP is called Vinho Verde. Okay.
Okay. Like that.
So yeah. It's like if you have I don't know, maybe I don't want to give the wrong example, but if you have Loire Valley and you have a Vouvray AOP. Okay.
Minho is Loire Valley. Okay, nice. Other question: why Vinho Verde? Why green wine?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a very, very good question. Because Vinho Verde, because 2 reasons. One is that the region is very, very green. It's just like you see on the picture, all the vineyards, all the pasture, the gardens, whether there is vine, whether there is no vine, everything is green. It's crazy. So one, because of that. The second one, and most important, is because the wines are picked a little bit earlier. So they're very fresh, they're very green, they're very tart. Because the Alvarinho is best that way. It's really sharp, high acidity, very refreshing, very zesty wines, and to keep the freshness of the wine. So they call green wine, and then they add a little bit of carbon dioxide sometimes to have a light spritz.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So it's okay. You can follow.
Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, as I said, tart, fresh, clean white wines from Alvarinho, Loureiro, and Trajadura. Those are some of the 3 most important grape varieties. Loureiro is actually the most planted varietal in Vinho Verde. Most people think it's but it's actually Loureiro. After we have, deep purple, dark concentrated reds, Vignão. So I have a picture with my good friend Fabien drinking Vignão last summer, and it's crazy. They serve on a white coffee mug the Vignão, and it's purple. It's concentrated, it's dark, it's purple. It's almost like a very, very young Malbec, or young Malbec. Imagine a very young Cahors. It's like that. It's crazy. But we serve a little bit cold, and it's delicious. Cainho Tinto and Amaral, other 2 red grapes. There's also Espadeiro, Padeiro. So a lot of native Portuguese varietal. So you need to understand that Portugal, after Italy, maybe is the country with more diversity of indigenous varietal. So sometimes some producer use Cabernet Sauvignon or use Syrah, use Chardonnay, but less and less we use those varietal because they understand, they use Chardonnay Cabernet Sauvignon because they want to export the wine, and for consumer it's better because they know what they're drinking. But they realize now that, you know, having Touriga Franca, having Touriga Nacional, having Alvarinho, it's from the country, so they prefer to sell today more and more native varietal, which is, it's very good. It's very important for us, I think. And then the soil in the region, the northern part of the country is very much schist and granite, a lot of mountain, a lot of rock in this part of the country. So yeah, schist and granite mainly. And then of course the River Minho, which separates Spain from Portugal. So moving forward, we see that part over there, right? If you move to the next slide.
Yeah.
So
sorry. Yeah.
no problem. Vinho Verde on the top. So you see Spain straight away there, Atlantic Ocean on the west, and then moving forward, we have Trás-os-Montes as the next region. So Trás-os-Montes, you see already here that is a little bit different. It's not as green. There is a little bit more mountain as well. So this mountain is protecting the vines from the Atlantic influence, makes the region a lot more dry and a lot more, is almost a little bit like the Vosges mountain, separates Alsace from the rest of France, keeps the region a little bit drier and hotter in the summer, and of course colder and rainier in the winter. Three subregions, Chaves, Valpaços, and Planalto Mirandês. Here, as I was saying, more continental climates. Again, the soils granitic and schist, all this part of the country. And then the varietals, you have typical varietals from the region, Bastardo, Marufo, Tinta Roriz, Touriga Franca, Touriga Nacional on the reds, and then Rabigato, Code de Lourinho, Fernão Pires on the whites. So Rabigato and Code de Lourinho, very common on the northern part of Portugal. And then Fernão Pires across everywhere in the country, very common in the southern part. So yeah, I mean, sorry.
Sorry, no, it's a region very famous, or I never heard about it.
No, it's not famous at all. There is some producers, but it's not very famous. You drink those wines when you are on the northern part, so you can literally almost only see them when you are mostly on the north, when you're traveling around those parts. Otherwise, you rarely find them as well.
Okay.
So you see the map again, Trás-os-Montes. Now moving forward, Douro Valley. So Douro Valley or Porto and Douro is, I mean, this we could speak, we could have now 2 hours of talk about Porto and Douro. It's one of the most, for me, one of the most beautiful wine regions I've ever been. I'm not sure if you've been or not, any one of you. But if you've never been, I invite you to go. It's very beautiful. So Porto is on the coast. It's on the Mediterranean, sorry, on the Atlantic. And then you have the river that goes all the way to Douro Valley and of course to Spain, right? So you have Baixo Corgo, Alto Corgo, and Douro Superior as the wine region. Baixo Corgo, it's the cooler, it's the smaller, and it's the closer to the Atlantic. And then as you go to Alto Corgo, gets a little bit more continental, a little bit drier, a little bit more prestigious. It's the heart of the Douro Valley. And then Douro Superior, it's closer to Spain. It makes the front number 3. It makes the frontier with Spain. And it's definitely the larger. It's definitely the drier. It's generally considered the least quality. However, there are some very, very good producer today going get grapes over there. So, you know, traditionally before phylloxera, all the Portuguese vines, I mean, probably like in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, they bush vines, yeah? So they just grow randomly anywhere. And the Douro Valley was like this. But after the phylloxera, they, you know, because the vines were destroyed, and with the accession to the European Union in 1986, there was money coming in from Europe to Portugal and Spain, of course, and we replanted the vines in different perspectives. So Ao Alto, Vinhas Ao Alto is how it's called, right? So they planted directly upwards. There is patamares, which are in like, you know, different terraces that are workable with a tractor, and there is also terraços. So those are smaller terraces that have to be worked by hand. So those three different types of planting are common in the Douro Valley, and this all happened after the replanting after phylloxera. So because before was all bush vines, it was a little bit messy. There were like 43 different types of grapes, different type of cepage in the vineyard. Not even the winemaker understand grapes are. So it was crazy. And there are still some vines like this. Quinta do Crasto has a vineyard like that. So it's really special. It's very, very, very interesting, and it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. So white grapes, Código de Larinho, Viozinho, Rabigato. Reds, again, Touriga Nacional, Touriga Franca, Tintucão. The River Douro in this region. And in the Douro is a little bit more continental. In Porto, of course, it's more maritime. So one more thing about this climate in Porto and Douro is very, very important, is that last Douro Valley producers, they have to bring the wine in cask, in barrique, to Porto, because in the Douro Valley, it's very, very hot in the summer, even after the harvest. And for aging the wines, they have to bring down in boats to Porto and Vila Nova de Gaia to age, to mature the wine, okay? So, and then a few years ago, I don't want to lie, but I think it's 1998, they created the law that now they can age the wine in the Douro Valley, provided they have the right climate, the right climatization, the right cellar. They can age now in Douro Valley.
Okay, excuse me, Carlos.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be sure, because I heard exactly what you said. I mean, actually, in Vila Nova de Gaia, they're not supposed to be. It's not an obligation to mature the wine in Vila Nova. Actually, you can mature the wine in the Quinta, right?
Yeah. Now, yes.
Okay.
Before, no. Now, yes.
Okay, that's it. Since 1998, you said?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. Yeah, 1998.
Okay.
I believe so.
Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, there was some producer. There was some producer that was fighting for that, because they say, well, I don't want to bring my wine to Porto. I have the right condition in Douro Valley. I want to age my wine here. And yeah, I believe it's 1998.
Just to make sure, and for the student, okay? Because maybe they don't know anything about about the river, you know, Douro, etc. Can you explain about the fight between Porto and Vila Nova de Gaia? You know, port capital is Vila Nova de Gaia, etc., etc. Just small explanation about, please.
Yeah. So of course. So okay, Douro on its own, it's DOP. Okay, they can produce red wine, white wine, not fortified. Porto, it's the wine that comes from Douro Valley, but fortified. So you cannot produce still wine from Porto. Porto, DOP has to be 45. Douro is not 45, but the region is the same. So Douro and Porto come from the same region, which is Douro, but Porto, it's, yes, the city in Portugal that traditionally matured the wine, and it was given the name of the city, Porto, to the wine, okay? Vila Nova de Gaia, it's across the river from Porto. So you have Porto on the north, you have the river Douro, and then on the south, you have Vila Nova de Gaia. So they overlook the city. So if you can go on Google and see picture from Porto and Vila Nova de Gaia, you will be amazed. It's very beautiful as well, amazing. So if you are in Vila Nova de Gaia, you are, for example, at Taylor Fladgate, you can see on the other side Porto. If you are in Porto and you look south across the river, you see Vila Nova de Gaia and you see Taylor Fladgate, you see all of them, Crofts, all of them, Ferreira, yeah. And they traditionally chose Vila Nova de Gaia because it was cheaper to have the port houses in the Vila Nova de Gaia than in Porto. Porto, I mean, it was more expensive to buy property, to buy local, to age the wine. So everything was done on the south, Vila Nova de Gaia. So they are very, very big rival. They don't like each other. They fight each other all the time. Interesting.
Thank you. Perfect.
So, yeah,
just a question.
Further, we have now again the map. So Douro, Porto and Douro. So you can see on the next slide.
Sorry, slagging.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So Porto and Douro, it's right on the south of Trás-os-Montes, as you can see there. So a very small region, but it's actually one of the most important regions for wine production in Portugal. And you see the river Douro. Yeah.
Just a question. You just told us about white wine from Douro. To my point of view, white wine start to be very cool and fun from Portugal. Okay. When I went to Portugal, I had a lot of amazing white wine. This is a kind of a new how do you say? Start to be fashionable to make white wine.
Yeah.
Can you tell us maybe more about?
Yeah, definitely. So again, since since the 1980s, when Portugal accessed European Union, stainless steel was available, knowledge was available, winemaker consultant was available. So the knowledge of making white wine increased dramatically. So, for example, before it was oxidized wine, it was rubbish, it was no good. But now, of course, with all the technology, all the knowledge, there is more and more really top producers making great white wine. I mean, you have not only Douro Valley, you have Newport making really good wine in Douro. In the down, you have Filipe Pato, for example, really good stuff from Portuguese varietals. So yeah, you are very right. It's fashionable. People like to drink the wine. The winemaker is gaining confidence, and more they're producing really good wine for sure. You are right. I mean, it started, of course, with Vinho Verde, Alvarinho, fresh, clean, dry. But now, of course, Porto, down, Bairrada produce, Alentejo produce, Lisboa produce a lot of white wine, and it's delicious. It's very good.
Okay, thanks for your answer. Okay.
So moving forward, so now we will go to Távora Varosa. Távora Varosa is the region on the south of Porto and Douro. So it's a very small region, very small AOC. Yeah. So yeah, it's on just right south of the Douro. Again, continental climate, but here very important is the altitude. It goes to 500, 800 meters. Produce sparkling wines, so the same style as champagne, but obviously from native Portuguese varietal. And they can be very good. They can be really delicious. Whites from Malvasia Fina, Bical, Cercial, and Fernão Pires. And then the reds, Tinta Barroca, Tinta Roriz, Touriga Franca, and Touriga Nacional. So even the sparkling wines are made from those varietals. So not a very, very important DOC, but it exists, and there's some good sparkling coming from there. Soils, again, schist and granite still in this part. We can move forward on this one. There's a lot more interesting regions coming forward. So now we have Bairrada, Dão, and Lafões. So it's the gray region, just south of Vinho Verde, and Bairrada, the light red region. So we move to the slide, Bairrada, Dão, and Lafões. So this is quite a big region over here, a big zone. Bairrada is a DOP, Dão is a DOP, Lafões is a DOP, okay? So Bairrada produced, for me, the most exciting wines today in Portugal. You have Baga. Baga is a similar grape variety to Nebbiolo in terms of structure, high tannins, high acidity, higher alcohol, and this sherry, strawberry, leather, earthy, truffly, blood, sanguine is crazy. A good Baga can be outstanding, can be super, super good. And if it's well aged, amazing. Super, super interesting. Bairrada. Bairrada, the name comes from one of the soil types, which is clay. In Portugal, it's called barro, clay soil, and mixed with some limestone most of the times. Dão and Lafões. Lafões is a very, very small DOP. Dão is very interesting. So Dão produce outstanding wine. There's several quintas, but Quinta dos Carvalhais, for example, Quinta do Encruzado are important producers in the region. They're very dynamic, produce outstanding wine. There are some organic wine, more and more organic wine producers in the country. They are moving towards it. So yeah, down with a higher altitude, they Serra da Estrela. So Serra da Estrela, it's we call, well, in English, the Star Mountain. So it's the highest point in Portugal. So Dão is very much influenced by this mountain. Granitic and schist soils over here. Touriga Nacional and Alfrocheiro on the reds. Alfrocheiro, it's a very perfumed, very aromatic grape variety with very dark and concentrated wines as well. White wines, Encruzado, Bical, Cercial, Malvasia Fina. So the classic, Portuguese varietals. Encruzado, it's really interesting. So if you try a Portuguese Encruzado from the region of Dão, for example, from Quinta dos Carvalhais or Quinta do Encruzado, they're very good. They're outstanding wines. And then a while ago, someone make a question about Leitão, about the second pig, the baby pig. It's from Bairrada traditionally. So it's a region that produces very good sparkling wine as well, and good red sparkling once again. So it's a perfect match, sparkling and the fat of the baby pig with a spicy sauce and the green salad, chips and tomato. That's it, easy. Yeah, I think it's everything from here.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah,
Carlos.
Please.
So just to check about Serra da Estrela. Sorry for the accent.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's perfect.
So it's 2,000 meters altitude, 2000 meters, Serra da Estrela. And this is the highest point of Portugal.
Portugal Continental is the highest point, yes. But the highest point in Portugal, all Portugal, including islands, is the island of Pico in Azores.
Okay. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, Portugal Continental, it's Serra da Estrela, yeah.
Okay. And what about the climate? It's more a mountain climate due to the influence of the Serra da Estrela?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So Bairrada, it's maritime, moderate, and then down and Lafões with the high altitude of Serra da Estrela. Yes, it's more high altitude.
Okay.
It's more continental climate for sure, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And Felipe Pato is from this region, no? Right?
Felipe Pato, yeah, Felipe Pato is from down. So her dad is Luis Pato, so a top producer from the region, and then his daughter, which is Filipa, and she's married to a Belgian winemaker, which is called Reuters. I can't remember his first name. I apologize, but William Reuters. Really good stuff. They produce some amazing wine. They have now a wine 100% Baga from Prephyloxera vines that's called Missão or Mission, and it's Prephyloxera vines. They only produce 500 bottles, something like this. It's crazy. It's really small. Yeah.
You're a big fan of Baga.
Yeah, I love Baga. I really love Baga. It's, I mean, my favorite wines are maybe Nebbiolo. And, you know, when you try something a little bit similar, but from Portugal and it's different, I think it's good. Yeah, you should try. You should try. If you can find, you try.
I will for sure. We will. I've got a question from Marilu. She's talking about Malvasia fina. Is it like Malvoisie?
Yes, Malvasia fina. Yes, Malvasia fina. It's called in Madeira Boal. So yes, it's a Malvasia. It's you can make sweet wine.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Nice. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
That's it. No more question at the moment.
Sounds good. So we move now on to the next region, which will be Beira Interior. So Beira Interior, it's very much continental climate again, so really deep inside, and is quite a large wine region, but it's not really important. It's on the other side of the Serra da Estrela. So between this region and the previous region, you have the mountain range, and now you have again slightly flatter land, and it goes on to the border with Spain. So Pinhel, Castelo Rodrigo, and Cova da Beira. Granitic soils, continental climate, hot and dry, cold and rainy on the winter, and then the local grapes. I mean, Fontcal, it's a very little known white grape, but can make some good stuff in the region. And then traditional grapes for the reds: Bastardo, Marufo, Rufet, Tinta Roriz. Tinta Roriz is the same as Tempranillo in Spain, or Aragonese in the south, like we said a while ago. But yeah, Beira Interior, it's not really one of the big wine regions that you should be concerned about. I mean, it's good to know the sub-region, but in terms of wine production, it's very small. Moving forward to the map and the next wine region. So we move on to Lisbon, which is the capital, and the name of the next region as well. Okay, so Lisboa. For me, this is very interesting because there's a lot of different wine styles over here. So number one, in Costas d'Aire is where I am from, Fátima, Orem, and Orem and Alcobaça is within in Costas d'Aire. Again, traditional styles over here, nothing too crazy in here. And then number 2, Lourinhã. Lourinhã is closer to the coast. Here they produce aguardente. So it's aguardente is distilled grape. It's like almost like a grappa or like a marc almost. So they produce this style over here and they age it. They can do brandy in this region. And then Óbidos is a beautiful little area. They produce good Touriga Nacional, good Touriga Franca, from local varietals. So moderate climates, nothing too crazy. The same with Torres Vedras and Alenquer. Arruda, the wines are generally a little bit stronger, a little bit more alcoholic, a little bit warmer, and then gets really interesting with Colares and Carcavelos. Colares, it's a small wine region that still has some pre-phylloxera vines because it's the sandy soils. If you remember a while ago when we started, when I spoke about the soil with phylloxera, there was, of course, sandy soils, which phylloxera do not like. So Colares still has some very, very old vines. Ramisco, it's the grape variety for reds, most important, alongside Castelão. And this is the only place I know that is some Ramisco planted. So it's really cool. It's very, very interesting. The wines can be really outstanding. They can be quite amazing. In young, when they're youthful, they're very concentrated, they're very tannic, they're very alcoholic. So it needs really a long time for these wines to melt down. The last bottles I've tried was 1969 from Viúva Gomes in Colares, and they were perfectly ready to drink now. When I did a blind tasting for some customer, they think it's a wine with 10 years old. 10, 15 years, and it was like from 1969. It's like over 50 years. It's crazy. So that's Colares. And then you have Carcavelos. So again, Carcavelos is very famous for Vin de Liqueur. So wine that is 45 before fermentation. So Vin Mistel or Vin de Liqueur. So yeah, really, really interesting from local varietals. And then Bucelas, once again. So Bucelas is only white wine. So Arinto is the most important grape, minimum of 70% Arinto. Produce delicious white wines in very different styles. Can be stainless steel, can be barrique, can be many different things. It's almost like the Chardonnay, if you like, you know. It's very easy to adapt Arinto to different region. So yeah, that's Bucelas.
Sorry, Carlos.
So yeah, please.
Sorry. What about the soils to this region?
So for where, Bucelas or
Lisboa? Is it
Lisboa is, yeah.
Spray, granitic?
Yeah, so in Encostas d'Aire, you have mostly, in Encostas d'Aire, you have more granite and schist as well. It's very mountainous. And then Lourinhã, Óbidos, Torres Vedras, it's closer to the coast. You have more sandy soil, a little bit more limestone and clay. Colares, sand, only sand, pretty much. Sand and clay. In the sandy soils, you have Ramisco grape. In clay soils, you have Castelão. So those two soils are important here. And then Carcavelos and Bucelas, again, more sandy soils and limestone. So here starts differing a little bit from the northern part.
Thanks.
My pleasure. And then, yeah, maritime climate overall, it gets only a little bit more continental on Encostas d'Aire, but not really. I mean, it's very much influenced from the coast. So again, Arinto, Rabo d'Ovelha, Fernão Pires, Malvasia, and then the reds, Ramisco, Castelão, Alicante, Boucher, and Aragonês. Here is already called Aragonês, which is, of course, Tempranillo or Tinto Roriz. So further south, we have the map again, so you can see.
Just before, Carlos, I've got some questions.
Yeah, please.
About Ginia from Obidos. Is it a cherry wine or liqueur?
Is a liqueur, ginja,
Okay.
ginja de Óbidos. That is delicious.
Okay.
So it's very, very nice. So it's it's a sherry liqueur. I mean, you have quiche de Fougerolles, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a similar style. The ginja de Óbidos is liqueur of sherry, and usually, traditionally, they serve in a chocolate cup. Then you drink the sherry, and you drink the you eat the cup made with chocolate. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Also, question from Fabien. Bastardo name, the great Bastardo. What is the name in French?
Oh, good question. Bastardo, it's Bastardo. It's
It's from Jura.
Good question. Oh yeah, Trousseau.
Yeah, you're right.
Trousseau. Yeah, very good. Nice question. Yeah, classic. Merci, mon Fabien.
So no more questions. Let's go.
So
move forward. Just a minute.
So we have, and then moving forward, Tejo. So Tejo, we're already on the southern part of the country. So Portugal, sorry, if you push to the map again. So thank you. So you have Lisboa and a little bit of the Tejo that is cut, and Beira underneath Beira Interior, you have a river that is called the Tagus River, yeah? And that separates pretty much the country in two. Riba Tejo, north of Tejo, and sorry, Alentejo after the Tejo, okay? So if you hear Riba Tejo, yeah, definitely north, Alentejo after Tejo, basically. And then, yeah, Tejo region. So it's a beautiful wine region, but you have a lot of landscape over here, olive trees, the horses. So there's a lot of horse shows. The most important, the most beautiful horse for Torada, for the bull races, come from this area. The horses. And then of course the cork forests for cork production. There's 5 subregions, which are Cartucha, Cartacho, Coruche, Chamusca, Almeirim, and Tejo. No, there's missing me one. It's for Fabian. Fabian, what is the last one that is missing? And then, yeah, of course, the grape varieties. So Touriga Nacional, Trincadeira, Castelão, Aragonês. So similar grape varieties. And then on the whites, Fernão Pires and Arinto. But yeah,
Fabian
not
Santarém.
Santarém. Yeah, very good, very good. He's studying. Fabian is studying. So moving forward, you have now again the map. So yeah, Tejo, and then you have Peninsula de Setúbal. Olivier, yeah. So Peninsula de Setúbal is just on the south of Lisboa, across the river, and Tejo. So moving. So from Peninsula, yeah.
Just a question. Between Lisboa and Peninsula de Setúbal, is there a sea between Lisboa and north of Peninsula?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes, absolutely. It's there's the river that separates. The river separates Lisboa from Peninsula de Setúbal. River Douro, or river. Sorry, not River Douro. I'm sorry. The river Tejo separates Lisboa from Peninsula de Setúbal, and there's 2 bridges that connect the 2 regions.
Nice. Okay. And there's any microclimate for sure? Something special to say?
For sure. No, not necessarily, but definitely very moderate, very mild climates in Setúbal. and also in Palmela. Yeah, so really on the coast, on a bay, and very much sandy soils over here. Palmela is very tiny, produce mostly white wine, and is not really famous. There's only a few cooperative, and more important is Setúbal. Setúbal produce a really good sweet wine, fortified wine, called Muscatel Setúbal, and this is interesting because if it's aged, you can produce a white style port from this region, Muscatel Setúbal. You cannot call it port, of course, it has to be Setúbal, but it can be very interesting from Muscat Alexandrie, and also Muscatel Roxo. So important is to know that Muscatel Roxo, it's a strain of or a variety of Muscatel that is traditional to Portugal. It was almost gone, almost no existence anymore. And José Maria da Fonseca, an important producer from the region, he bring back to life Muscatel Roxo. So really cool. It's very good. It's a purple tone in the wine, and it's crazy. It can be very good if it's done the right way.
Excuse me, Carlos. I have one question, please.
Yeah.
Because we are talking about the fortified wines and Moscatel Setúbal and also port wine. I would like to know what is the situation, because you have an international view of the selling of this kind of wine, with sugar. I mean, in France, it's actually a very difficult kind of wine to sell, because the people in France, they don't like anymore wines with sugar. What is the situation, for example, where are you working in Australia or somewhere? Is that some sommelier they still sell that kind of wine to people?
Yes, 100%. Is a very nice question, and every time I think of new opportunities and new ideas to sell fortified wine. I mean, on my list I have Banyuls, I have Maury, I have of course port, of course Madeira, and I always, because we do tasting menu, so I always do on a wine pairing 2 fortified wine. So I always do one French fortified wine and one Portuguese fortified wine, or sometimes Van Santo, sometimes Marsala. So I always try to change with fortified wine. And, I think the sommelier, when we do wine pairing, we have sometimes to give knowledge to the consumer, the client. Sometimes I do blind tasting. For example, if I have a dish with the foie gras, or at the start, a dish that I think go nice with a fortified wine, for example, I do blind tasting. I don't tell the customer what it is. I bring the glass with the wine, with a little bit of wine, and I say, okay, you please try the dish and try a little bit of the fortified wine at the same time. And they try and say, oh my God, this is amazing, this is delicious. What is this? And I say, well, this is a Maury, or is a Sauterne, or Sauterne is not fortified, of course, but it's sweet, or it's a white port, or whatever. And is when they say, okay, I have a glass. Because if I say, oh, I bring you a sweet wine, they say, oh, no, I don't like sweet wine. So, it's really up to the sommelier to think how you want to sell one extra glass, or how you going to sell a fortified wine to someone. Or, for example, other ways with the cheese, when they finish the meal, they order, I want a glass of white wine to go with the cheese. I say, okay, yeah, perfect. I bring a glass of white wine, and on the side I bring a little bit of fortified wine, and I say, okay, this is with my compliments, okay, just for you to try this cheese here with this wine. And then they mix, they try and say, oh my God, this is very good. Can I have a glass? What is this? Oh, it's a port. or these I don't know, Bomb de Venise or something, you know, and then, you know, you have the opportunity to sell one extra glass sweet wine or fortified wine, really.
Okay.
I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, it was perfect. So thank you so much. I hope all my students listen to you for know how to sell, to have an advice how to sell this kind of wine. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Or so, I think it's important. I mean, the sommelier.
Yeah,
Setúbal.
Setúbal. It's only fortified wine.
Correct. Yes. So correct. Setúbal only fortified wine. Palmela only dry wine. Not major region, but Setúbal is interesting with the old fortified wine for sure.
Okay, and
there is one producer. No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Okay. Most of the style is oxidized. But there is a new producer I tried last year when I was in Portugal. That was really, really good. I will find out the name and I will let you know. But a recent one of the young modern producer, really, really good, really crazy.
Okay.
I never seen before, but I tried. It was very good. Okay, so moving forward, we have now Alentejo. So Alentejo is on the southern part. It's the big brown region. Further south, so it's the big, as I was saying, the wine region, biggest wine region in the country, but not the region that produced the most wine. It's very, very sparse, and has different climates on itself, different microclimates in itself as well. Porto Alegre, number one, is the most important. It's higher altitude, and you produce really good wine, fresher, colder, really well balanced, really warm, hot, tannic. But because the producer has more opportunity with the difference of temperature, higher altitude, they can produce better wines. Borba, very warm, Évora, very warm. Redondo, all the region is quite concentrated, quite rich in terms of style of wine. Very high alcohol and traditionally unbalanced wines. But today they're doing really, really good job. For example, the producer in Regengos, number 5, is called Espurão. It's making really good stuff. Really delicious Aragonês, Alicante Bouchers, and a very big experimental vineyard, which is actually an Australian winemaker, David Beverstock, that worked there since 25 years. And it's quite a special wine region. But as you can see, there's all the numbers from 1 to 8 are all close together. The region is very big, so the rest of the land is for olive trees, cork trees, for Rambon, pata negra, we call pata negra, or the black feet, prosciutto, right? And that can be very, very, very expensive. And I just remembered now what the black pigs, they eat acorns. In English, it's called acorn. So that's their fed. It's only acorn, and this meat, it's really, really fatty in the pig, and the ham, it's crazy expensive. It can be 2,000 euros. Yeah.
So Alicante Boucher.
So yeah.
Is it from an Aragonese? Is it from this region or not?
Yeah. This region and around Lisbon as well, there is some region that will use Alicante Boucher, but Alicante Boucher really likes the Alentejo because it's very hot and very dry region. Is temperatures here go easily to 45 degrees, 45, 46 degrees. It's super, super hot. It's super flat, and the only region that is really a little bit of mountain it's in Porto Alegre, which is called Serra do Marão. Otherwise, it's flat and hot. So yeah, the Alicante Boucher really likes this. It gives really, it's a Teinturier grape, okay? So there's only maybe 5 or 6 Teinturier grape in the world, and Alicante Boucher is one. And really dark, really concentrate, very purple, like a young Malbec, like we said a while ago, similar style. And then Anton Vaz and the Rinto Roupeiro for the whites. So yeah, in this region, the whites are maybe less, I don't want to say less good. They different style. They generally more generous, a little bit more alcoholic because of the region. But also there's new producer that is making fresher styles. But it's very difficult here because it's very hot.
And what about, I'm sure they are thinking about, but what about the global warming of the Earth?
Mm-hmm.
They have to change something. Maybe they have to change the grapes. They have to change the way they are making wine, or maybe more about viticulturing. Or
yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, that's very good. I mean, you know, I think it's difficult situation for everyone in winemaking. I mean, in Alentejo, to be very fair, for example, as I was saying a while ago, Espurão, they have a lot of different experimental vineyards. They have one part of vine that's only, they have, I don't know, 200 or 300 different grapes experimenting. So they would be, you know, the best ones to be in a position to choose grape varieties and see how they adapt to the global warming. But regions like Alentejo definitely will have to do something because it's really difficult. It's already very hot. I mean, so they have to either adjust grapes, either harvest earlier, depending on the year, depending on the vintage. But yeah, it's a real struggle. It's very hot and dry. That's the most important. And you can see the picture. It's just brown. I mean, there's no water irrigation here. It's important. Yeah. So Alentejo, yeah, this is Alentejo. So people in the Alentejo region is known for being very lazy. So there is a joke that we say about people from Alentejo that is like this: when you feel like you want to work, you sit down in the chair and you wait until it goes away. I hope you understand my joke.
Yeah.
So Algarve is the southernmost wine region of Portugal. So really on the coast, and definitely is best for holidays than for wine, for the summer, for the beach. Not really for wine. It's very Mediterranean. So really on the south of Portugal, and is very damp. It's very hot, and there is not really great wine over here. There's some producers, but nothing really major. So I think we should use the time to see somewhere else.
Okay.
So Azores, we go to the island of Azores. So Azores, it's halfway almost from Portugal to US to America. And this is very interesting. I like wines from Azores, and how they are planted is very interesting as well. So they're in between these currais, which is this wall stones. So this is basically a protection from the winds from the ocean, and this is like 1.5 meters, some are 2 meters high, really to protect from the winds. And 3 appellations, so Graciosa, Pico, and Biscoitos. Graciosa produce only still wines. Pico and Biscoitos produce still wine. That's pretty much it about Azores. I mean, traditional grapes, Verdelho, Arinto, Terrantes. There's really not much more. And then red wines is very, very, very little, but there is some parts that use Merlot, for example. Interesting. Yeah, that's it. So this is it's maritime climate, like crazy. It's really surrounded in the middle of the ocean.
And still wine
and
from
then we have the,
Azores.
yeah.
Do you have any?
Sorry.
Sorry, Azores wine, but still wine from Azores. Is it very trendy or not?
No, not really. Not really.
Okay.
Not really. To be very fair, I've only seen one bottle one time when I was working in Lisbon.
No way. Okay.
Because yeah, I only seen one bottle of white wine one time of Verdelho when I was in Lisbon, and it's not a major region. I think little gap, especially with the fortifieds, but it's something that still has a lot of work to go.
Okay.
On the other hand, wines from Madeira are very, very interesting. This is a beautiful wine region. So Madeira is closer to the African coast than actually from Portugal. Okay, so Madeira is a subtropical island. Is absolutely stunning. It's valley after, and hill after hill. It's very green, very wild, and vineyard everywhere. But 3% only of the production of Madeira is actually fine wine. Everything else is cooking wine, for example. But the 3% from Cercial, Verdelho, Boal, and Malvasia or Malmsey, they are very sweet wines. They are absolutely delicious. So it's really, really special. And those are the 4 noble varietals. I repeat: Cercial, Verdelho, Boal, and Malvasia, which are the noble varietals, but also the style of the wine that the winemaker, from drier to sweeter. And then in terms of aging, maderization, this is quite an interesting point, because they have these Madeira lodges where they are on the top. They have different levels. So as according to the age of the wine, they move from room to room, and they are really under the sun, which is obviously called the maderization. Is the like natural oxidation of the wine through the barrel. So that's why a Madeira wine can age forever. They can go for 200 years, 300 years, no problem, because the wine is already destroyed. It's already oxidized after during the aging. And there are different aging processes: Canteiro or estufagem. Canteiro for the higher, the premium, super premium Madeira, and the estufagem for the less expensive process, which is quite interesting. So if you want to go and ever read, I think is pretty cool, very interesting. And then Porto Santo. So Porto Santo also produce Madeira wine, but is even more wilder island and even smaller from the region of Madeira.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it.
Can you maybe
that's the presentation.
Tell us maybe just
Yeah.
more about the style of Madeira with maybe freestyle or four style, whatever, with the grapes, and if it's sweet or if it's oxidized.
Of course. Yeah. So of course, so Cercial is the driest style. Is a grape variety that is grown mostly on island, because it's slightly cooler. It's more influenced, a lot more influenced by the Atlantic, and it's a style of wine that it's pretty much always made in the Canteiro style, and it goes into the premium, the more expensive Madeira. Canteiro is the style of maderization that is made naturally. Then don't touch, is a minimum of I believe 3 years, in barrel, and then when it goes to the Frasqueira, which is the vintage Madeira, is a minimum of 20 years in aging. So it's really crazy. So it's very, very oxidized. Cercial is in very high acidity. So you can compare a little bit to Oloroso style of sherry, but Cercial is more acidity, and Oloroso it's a little bit more creamier in style. And then the next style of Madeira is Verdelho. Verdelho is less acidity, but more sweetness, and is grown mostly in middle of the island, let's say. I mean, it's sweet and high acidity, but not quite as high in searing acidity as Cercial. The next style is Boal. So Boal, it's a lot sweeter. It's grown mostly on the middle of the island towards the northern part. Slightly warmer, slightly riper style, a little bit more sweetness, and again, less acidity than the Verdelho and the Cercial. And then finally, the last one is the Malmsey, which is grown mostly on the northern part of the island. It's very sweet, it's very rich, very sticky, and also oxidized. The more premium styles also go to Canteiro, and again they can age for several years. But all the style is oxidized, so it's very much like a sherry style. Okay. The difference is that the aging of sherry is made in Solera, and the aging of Madeira is made in the Madeira lodges. It's not allowed to produce Solera style in Madeira. There's producers that make Solera, but it's not allowed for commercialization.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. Perfect. So just I think we have some questions for you.
Yeah, please.
I've got experimentation with ice in Marques de Borba, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Heard about?
Yeah. Marques Borba, yeah. Marques Borba is in Alentejo.
Okay.
It's a good producer.
Okay. Maybe yeah, okay. I have no idea about the question, but I think Ludovic is telling us there are some experimentation with ice in Marques de Borba. I don't know what he means, but okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, Thierry? I think it's cooling the ferments with I guess with ice. As soon as I strongly believe, I think with harvests, bring the winery straight, the wine straight away to the winery, and cool all the ferments with ice and stuff. I mean, I guess I'm not really sure, but okay. That would be a good reason to to keep the aromatics and to keep the temperature controlled, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Not sure if it's about
that. Yes, I have a general question. Portugal burns every year. What is the impact of fires on cork production and on wine production?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Yeah, for sure. Every year we have a lot of wildfires, and it really destroys a lot of the production, smoke tanks, and of course, I mean, vineyards that are destroyed. In terms of the Alentejo, it also happens, but in fact, they already prevent that a little bit because the cork forests are clean from green stuff, so there's not really affects that much that part, but it still affects. I mean, a cork bark of a tree to grow perfect size of cork, I believe is about 25 years. So it's a very, very long time to produce a very, very strong, very big chunk of, cork bark to produce cork. So it's crazy. When something like that happen, which is every year, it's very difficult for producers, for sure. It's a good question. Yeah.
Just a question again.
Yeah.
Wine of Portugal are always with a cork.
With a natural cork.
Yes. Do you have now lots of
Screw caps.
Screw cap, yeah. Traditionally, yeah, no, I mean, it's still, I was there twice last year, and everything I've seen was still under cork. I mean, some natural cork, some DM, different measures of DM, but everything was on cork. So, yeah, everything on cork so far. There's no really move to screw top yet.
Really?
No. I don't remember seeing a bottle at all. But surely there is some already. Surely. I mean, I just don't remember seeing any. But France. No, France is mostly still cork or DM. But surely there is some producers already, especially for export markets. Definitely they do. Even Burgundy, I've seen already some screw top for export market.
I speak in French. Si vous avez des questions, les jeunes, n'hésitez pas, parce que là, ça fait déjà presque 2 heures qu'on est en contact. Donc, si vous avez une ou deux questions, on peut les poser à Carlos. Sinon, bah, voilà. Mais si vous pouvez les poser à l'oral, c'est encore mieux. Okay. I just asked to the student for any question.
Yeah, sure. Of course. Maybe today was a little bit too long. Yeah, I talked too much, no?
No. Okay, Fabien, having a question for you. Fabien?
Yes.
Hello.
Hey, Carlos, don't you think Mateus is in the screw cap?
Mateus Rosé. Oh, Mateus Rosé. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Possibly. Yeah. Mateus Rosé. Possibly Casal Garcia. Possibly Quinta da Aveleda. Yeah, Lancers. All those. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all those mass-produced and very big wines, possibly in screw top. Yeah, I don't remember seeing, but
because you don't drink them.
Because I don't drink them. Yeah, for sure. I don't remember seeing, but yeah, possibly those ones. Yeah.
Ok, obrigado, caralho.
Prazer, obrigado.
Ok. Ouais, Fabien disait qu'il y avait des screw taps, des capsules à vis sur les vins un petit peu moins chers. Les vins bons entrée de marché, entrée de gamme.
Ouais.
Okay. I didn't see any question. Maybe because you are talking in English, we are a bit,
of course.
afraid about English.
Of
so
course.
Maybe that's why.
No, that's okay.
Okay. My last question is now you are a master. So what is your next? How can we say level up, or your next goal in your wine life?
Well, I mean, as I said in the beginning, master sommelier means nothing. I mean, it means only very little bit. It's just a diploma. You need to keep learning. You need to keep studying. You need to keep improving. So for me, I would like to do Master of Wine next, and maybe I will do competition. One day. Best sommelier of Europe, best sommelier of the world. Maybe not. I don't know. But for now, yes, I would like to do competition. Master of Wine, and I would like to teach other sommelier, to do question and to improve knowledge and to help. Yeah, for sure.
And what about best sommelier in the world? Are you thinking about? Or?
No, as I said, I think it's if I'm in Australia, I will participate for best sommelier of Australia. If I go to the competition best sommelier in the world, I go to this competition. But it's not in my mind to to compete very serious right now. But one day, yes, one day I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
One day.
Okay, nice. So, sorry, I didn't put your Instagram. Maybe you can talk about your your Instagram now, but give us the Instagram. And you are doing some game actually, which is very attractive.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So maybe explain what are you doing on the social network.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, it's just very simple, you know, questions every day about very important producers from different regions around the world. It's 4 questions, and you know, one basic question, one a little bit more difficult, and you know, so on until the fourth level. So yeah, it's just a little bit of fun from important producers. I mean, imagine, for example, Chateau Castel, for example, Krug, for example, Didier Daguenot. So and those are the French, and then of course, you know, from other producers around the world, Opus One, Barca Velha, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's nice if you guys look at it.
Ça serait bien. I speak in French, easier for them. N'hésitez pas à ajouter Carlos Simoes sur Instagram. Tous les jours, il rajoute du coup des petites questions avec des levels différents par rapport à une région. Donc c'est très intéressant. Tous les jours, on pousse un peu nos connaissances, puisque vous allez voir que c'est des questions d'un niveau au départ simple, mais qui deviennent de plus en plus compliquées. C'est une nouvelle formule, donc n'hésitez pas à aller sur les réseaux sociaux et regarder. Tous les jours, c'est intéressant à suivre. Voilà, donc Carlos Simoes, c'est Carlos C-A-R-L-O-S I-M-O-E-S tiré du 8 M-S. Donc Carlos Simoes tiré du 8 M-S sur Instagram ou Facebook aussi, vous pouvez le trouver. Et c'est très ludique et intéressant, donc n'hésitez pas. Voilà. Ludovic.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for your presentation. It was very interesting, and I'm sure we spent good time with my students and I.
Thank you.
So maybe you know, we are as teacher. My students they go at the end of the year. They go working to wine from the world, and some of them they are studying especially Port and Madeira. Is it possible to send you some questions about this? If my students send you some question on Instagram or something, because they will need to show what. Yes. If you, I just ask you because you just said you want to help the young people.
Yes,
100%. So, and you have a very good knowledge, better than me on Portugal wine. So if you just give us some advices, some help, if it's possible, we will love it.
100%.
Okay, thank you.
Feel free anytime. Now with especially now with the coronavirus, 24 hours available.
That's it. You're right. So I just want to say thank you personally very much.
My pleasure.
You're very interesting people, and I would like to say thank you, Olivier, for letting me meet some very good people like Carlos. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for listening. Maybe it was a little bit longer today than usual. I mean, I love to talk, and especially when it's
just perfect.
When it's about wine, it's easy.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
So Carlos, for everybody, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, thanks for your time. I know it was 7 p.m. I mean, now maybe it's 9 p.m.
No, doesn't matter.
Thank you so much, Carlos.
My pleasure. It was a pleasure, and it was a pleasure. And if you need anything else, any other time, let me know.
I will. Thank you so much.
So,
Carlos,
thank you too.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your questions.
Bye bye.